So here I've got a fairly complicated link pipeline. Let me start off by explaining what it does. I follow a number of blogs that aggregate interesting developer links. And you can see here the URLs of some of my favourite link collection blogs. There's Alvin Ashcraft's Morning Dew, Chris Alcock's Morning Brew, and then a weekly collection of F-sharp links from Sergey Tihon, and a weekly collection of web audio links from Chris Lois. Now suppose I want to search all these link collections for blog posts about a particular topic. Maybe I want to see if anyone's been blogging about Azure recently. Well, what I've got in this link pipeline is a way to answer questions like that. For each site in my list of sites, I'm going to download the home page, and that's done in this download HTML method using the .NET Web Client object. And in this method, we're also going to be writing to the console whenever we download a web page, which will help us to see which elements are actually being processed in this pipeline and when. And then the next stage in this pipeline uses a NuGet package called the HTML Agility Pack to allow me to query the HTML Document Object Model, or DOM, a bit like you can in JavaScript with jQuery. And so toHTML document takes the downloaded HTML string and parses it into a HTML document object. Then the next stage is to try to identify the RSS feed, which we do in this getRSSFeed method using this rather scary looking XPath syntax. And then finally, once we've done that, we can download the RSS feed and load it into an X document because it's XML. And from the X document, I'm now able to query for all the posts in the RSS feed by looking for item nodes. And you'll notice that here I switched to using the link query syntax to make this select many operation read a bit better, as we discussed earlier in this course. For each site there are many posts or items in its RSS feed, and for each of those posts there can be many links, and we get hold of them again using the HTML Agility Pack to parse the HTML content from the RSS feed. Then I filter out any HTML links without valid target URLs, and then finally we select an anonymous object containing details of each link and the post it was contained within. Now I know that is rather complicated. Don't worry, I'm not really expecting you to have followed all of that in detail. But the point of this example is, as we're going to iterate through this sequence, it's not going to be quick, because it's going to have to go off to the internet and download the contents of several web pages and RSS feeds as we go along. Now, how long do you think it will take to run this code? Well, if you were paying attention, you'll realise that it won't actually take any time at all, since all we've done is set up a link query. And so if I click run here in LinkPad, we can see that it just says it took 0 seconds. None of these helper methods that we just looked at will actually get called until we start pulling items through the pipeline. So let's do that. Let's take this sequence of links and find out if anyone has been blogging about Azure recently. We'll use a where clause to find posts whose link title contains the string Azure, and we'll use LinkPad's dump method to force our pipeline to get evaluated, because under the hood, dump is going to for each through the whole collection. And when we do that and run it, you'll see it does take a little bit of time to complete, a few seconds to go off and download those web pages and RSS feeds. And we can see that there are plenty of people blogging about Azure. We've found 67 links. And you can also see from this debug output here that we downloaded all 4 of these link aggregator sites in order to get this output. But let's suppose we were only interested in finding the first link about Azure. If we do that by changing our where into a first, and now when we run, we can see that we only get 1 link in the results as expected, because that's what first does. But we also see that we now only needed to download the RSS feed from Alvin Ashcraft's Morning Dew, because that one had an Azure link in it. So we managed to save ourselves a bunch of extra work downloading all the other sites because we didn't need them in order to find the first element that was about Azure. Now, what would happen if we put a to list onto the original query? Sometimes developers will just do this in code because it's nice to have things in lists. We can report how many elements in the list. We can break in Visual Studio and look at what items are in that list. But if we do this, now we've forced all 4 sites' RSS feeds to get downloaded again. We've pulled out all 2,000 plus links, and that was much more work than we needed to do if all we were after was get the first Azure link. So it really is important that you familiarise yourself with the concept of deferred execution and understand exactly when your code will actually run and what link methods will cause your entire pipeline to get immediately, or eagerly as it's sometimes called, evaluated.